Hi, everybody. Happy Pride. Thanks for joining me in the locker room on this Thursday, June 2nd. I'm Alan Locher. Lindsay Morris, like all moms, took photos of her son at summer camp. At the time in 2007, she had no idea that those images would be the beginning of a more than decade-long photo project that would chronicle LGBTQ and gender fluid children coming into their own. Those kids, including Morris's son Milo, were among the first to attend Camp IM in rural Wisconsin, created for LGBTQ and gender fluid young people. At the time the camp was created, it was perhaps the only camp in the nation for gender fluid or gender expansive children who, regardless of their gender identity, don't want to be confined in their clothing and play by society's prescribed boundaries. Joining Lindsay today are Elias Matzo and his mom, Karen, along with Zachary Davis and his mom, Lori, to share their stories with all of you. But first, I'd like to introduce you to photographer Lindsay Morris. Her work has been published in Time Magazine, New York Times Magazine, New York Magazine, Vanity Fair, Marie Claire, Elle, to name a few. And she has been featured on BBC News and NBC Nightly News. Lindsay produced the 2016 BBC documentary, My Transgender Summer Camp, and published her monograph, You Are You, documenting Camp IM. It's my pleasure to welcome to the locker room, Lindsay Morris. Hey, Lindsay. Can you hear me? Oh no, I think she's frozen. Lindsay, can you hear me? Lindsay? Oh no, what's happening? Let's try to get her back. I don't know what's happening. Happy Pride, everybody. Stay with us because this is a great show. Hopefully, Lindsay will just sign back on. If not, I will give her a ring. I hope everybody's having a great day. Hi, Pam. Thank you for the Happy Pride. Happy Pride to everybody. I hope everybody's having a great Thursday. I'm not sure what happened to Lindsay. I think I think her computer froze. So let's see what's happening. Anybody have any questions while we wait? I might try and give Lindsay a call. Excuse me while I do this while we're live. There she is. Let's try again.
Sorry.
That's okay. The internet freezes sometimes.
It does, especially where I live.
I'll say it again. Please welcome to the locker room, Lindsay Morris.
Thank you. So nice to be here, Alan. Thank you.
Thanks so much for being here. Before we jump into Camp IM, how did you discover your passion for photography?
Oh, wow. Back in high school, I when I was a kid, my grandfather gave me a subscription to National Geographic, and it just rocked my world. It was unlike anything I'd ever seen. And then when I was 18, I became an exchange student in South Africa, and I was given a camera, and it took off running. And I remember the first picture I took that I think was good in Swaziland, and I still have it. And it kind of ignited something in me. It lit the fire.
What was that picture of?
It was three young women walking down this very misty, like foggy road. They came out of the fog, and they all had these massive baskets on their heads, and they were laughing at me. They're laughing hysterically because I think they're as surprised to see me as I am to see them.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I was probably 50 or very late 40s when I finally got to Africa and to Tanzania and to a safari, and can only imagine what that would have been like to me when I first got a camera at 13. If I had been in a country like Africa, and the beauty and the expanse and the animals and the people, wow.
All of it.
Yeah.
And it was during apartheid, and so there was a lot going on in South Africa at the time. Nelson Mandela was still on Robben Island. I mean, he hadn't even been freed yet. Yeah. I'm dating
Wow.
myself. That was 1984. That seems like a
Wow.
lifetime ago. Yeah.
That that's incredible. Do you
Yeah.
have a favorite subject to photograph today?
Huh. Well, I'm excited about something I'm photographing this weekend, which is, a very sad situation, but I think necessary. It's a training mass casualty crisis drill that is quite enormous, involving 24 fire and EMS and police departments, helicopters.
Oh,
They're going to have an active shooter, and they're just playing out a whole day of how a whole county, Suffolk County, can work together because they all work on different frequencies, and it's very complicated, the communication. So this is they have volunteers from ROTC and Eagle Scouts and Junior Fire Department, and
wow.
they're all going to be made up and with parents and a priest. I mean, you name it. It's as realistic as you could imagine. So I think I like to photograph things that are important and timely. And that's why, this project that we're going to talk about has been
Yeah.
so important and personal. I just speaks to me as a mother, both projects.
Well, speaking of the mom part of you,
Mm.
what were you looking when you were looking for an outlet for your son Milo and you went online, what were you Googling?
Um, my son likes to wear dresses. I mean, literally that. Like, are there other boys out there? I just wanted him to meet like-minded kids that he could see that would kind of represent something to him, that he wouldn't feel so alone, because it's very lonely when you're a gender expansive child and all the boys are doing one thing and you're watching them thinking, why are they chasing that ball around? Why are their clothes so dirty? Why are they rolling in the mud? Like, he had so many questions, and like, why don't I want to do those things? And I could, as soon as he could speak, I could tell that this was something that was constantly on his mind, and became even
Did,
more so as time went on.
did you understand it yourself at that time?
No, no, not really. I mean, I had a hunch where this
Hmm.
could go, but I wasn't. No, I was totally, it's so different today. If I were a new mother today, I think the answers and the books and the people all around you, there's just so much more accessible information. But at the time, no, I felt like I was on an island with this boy in a tutu with his American Girl doll in my high heels. So,
Wow. What popped up? It didn't say Camp I Am at that time, right?
no. I think the first thing came up was the Children's National Medical Center had a group, like a support group, and they had formed a listserv where parents could be vetted extensively, and then could be a member of the listserv where you could have conversations online. Um, there was no Zoom, it was just
Right.
us, yeah, in text, talking to each other and realizing, my gosh, there's so many of us and all of our kids are so alone. Why don't we get them together? And why don't we all get together? It was a mutual need.
Which in so many ways must have been a relief that you did find other kids like Milo, other parents like yourself. I mean, that's
Yeah.
gotta I don't know if relief's the right word, but give you some hope.
Oh, definitely. And that our stories were all so similar. Our kids didn't necessarily, they're not all on the same journey, because many of the kids are transgenders, some identify as gay, some are just somewhere on the spectrum, non-binary. But at the time, they were being ostracized for a particular reason. They were not identifying wholeheartedly, you know, with the gender, assignment they
Right.
were given at
Assigned at
birth.
birth. Yeah.
Yes. So,
Okay.
yeah, it was like finding your tribe, you know.
Oh
It was
yeah.
very important. And though we only gathered 4 days each summer, we formed a community and a strong bond that you were just aware of each other 365 days a year. You knew these people had your back. You knew you could sign on to the listserv, and there was always somebody there to talk to you.
We'll talk about the impact of, and the freedom that you witnessed with, what the kids experienced, and, the impact that it not only left on you, the parents, but on those kids, that they were together only 4 days per year.
Well, there's a lot of, anticipation leading up to it. And we had quite an emphasis at the time. Most of the kids who attended presented feminine. And so they would work very hard for months on what they would wear in the fashion show, and they would get so into it we'd have to allow them 3 costume changes because they had so many things to wear, and they would trade clothes. And so the anticipation, I think that was a few months of excitement that would keep them positive, and then they would have the experience and walk away with just the light and the weight kind of off their shoulders. They could go back to school and feel braver, more courageous. Their siblings were also there, so they could help advocate for them. They also developed a vocabulary to, know what to say when your friends are making fun of your brother who's got all these hidden American dolls in his closet, So it was educational, and it was also, I think it gave them a lot of peace. And then my job, we all had different jobs at camp. Tell me if I'm jumping ahead.
No, but that's fine. Parents had different jobs.
Yeah, so I was taking pictures, and the pictures people realized were decent, and we decided, I had studied photography is what I was doing, but I didn't go in there as a photographer. I mean, I didn't even really take a serious photo until I'd been there for 2 summers, maybe 3. But I said that I would document. So none of the parents had to worry about taking pictures. I would make sure to photograph all the kids, all the family members, and then present them with like a music video at the end, and which we would not share online. I would send discs to every family. And that was my contribution to the camp. And then the kids could access that all year round. And if they were feeling low, their parents could pop in this disc and say, we've got these are your people. Like, everyone supports you. This is the happy place when you have a bad day. So,
it's so interesting. I mean, I have loved photography since I'm 13, and I document a lot of, I'm not a professional, but I document so much of, my friends and everything. And what you're saying just resonates. I mean, it really does, having that to look at. And
yeah.
And I can imagine when you are feeling so alone, but you can pop that in and do that. And talk about the parents' experience. I mean, it was run by parents, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you just kind of get thrust into these roles as a parent. You never know what needs your child will have. And we were thrust into the role as advocate for these, in most of our cases, like feminine boys, which that evolves into something very different. But at the time, that's sort of how we saw it. And it just became very much a part of our lives. We communicated constantly. Your friends at home are lovely and supportive, but they don't understand really what's going on. They don't know about like the micro bullying that happens every day when these kids are on the playground and people whisper faggot in their ears. And, these things really take a toll on these kids, and it's really hard to help people understand it. So there was no explaining for parents to each other, this group of parents, and also for the kids. They're constantly having to explain themselves. And the camp was also so important because they didn't have to explain themselves. This is a place where they all knew that we are,
Mm-hmm.
we're all, this defies any need for explanation, because we're here to express ourselves freely.
I'm going to get emotional because, because, growing up gay, in the 80s, there was no internet. And, just hearing you say about, whispering, the derogatory names in the ear, I definitely had those things, but, didn't have any way of understanding, I mean, people have asked me, when did I know I was gay? I didn't, because, in the 80s, there weren't what has, progressed with like you being able to find that on the internet and more
Right.
education and just finding like-minded people. I mean, and to understand what the terms mean. When you said you started taking pictures, those first 2 summers, when you started looking at the pictures, what did you see?
At first they just felt like family snapshots, but then I
Mm.
started to get more familiar with the kids and the families, and I started to slow down because it's really chaotic. The pictures don't look like it, especially in the book. They all look sort of like dreamy and peaceful, but it's total madness there, and it's very loud. And there's a rush to get everything done and do everything and see everyone and have all these experiences. So it wasn't, I can remember a turning point. It was a sunset and we were about to do the fashion show at this red barn in Wisconsin. And the walls of the barn were turning orange. And I set up this yellow block for each kid to stand on and have a portrait taken. And all the parents, I remember there was a gathering of them around me and we were looking through my camera. And they're like, we need to make a book, or we need to have a show, or we need to get this out there because we want people to see our children and how we celebrate them and support them. Because how many kids like you were who, didn't have that kind of support? I think if people can see what support looks like, then maybe it'll be okay for them. Because, it took a while for me to feel like, is it okay for my son to play with Barbies? you
Mm-hmm.
know there's that little horrible voice in the back of your head that says, am I making him gay? And it's just, to this day, I remember that voice and I'm so ashamed of it. But that was sort of like just not
Hmm.
knowing how damaging that is, and depriving your child of them, leaning in their natural inclinations, and for you to pull back. Each time you do that, you're telling them there's something wrong with them. And I know I can count the times that I did that, when we were at Target and my son wanted the ruby slippers. It
Mm.
just breaks my heart that I said no. Like, I would never say no today. And we talk about it actually a lot because I feel like that was a turning point for me. It made me feel like a really bad person. I actually
Hmm.
bought him a necklace with ruby slippers on it.
I love that. I love
I'm like,
that.
here you go,
Well,
here's your ruby
yeah.
slipper. Yeah.
We
Uh,
can't, in some respects, you can't feel bad for what we don't know, or that's why this is so helpful, and being able to talk about, if somebody was watching right now and their son wants those ruby slippers, wants to put on a dress, what would
yeah.
you tell them today?
Oh my gosh, let them lead. You have to let them lead because there's no denying someone's nature. I mean, you have to let them show the way, which is kind of goes against all instincts of a parent. It's like, I'm the leader, I'm going to show you how it's done. Well, there are certain exceptions where you have to listen to them, and this
Mm-hmm.
is definitely one of them. And once we did start listening and letting go, oh my gosh, he was just a different person. He was a happier person. The circles went away from under his eyes. He was a depressed second grader. And when we said, no, yeah, of course you can have a doll. Of course we can go to the American Doll store and walk around for 2 hours, and go to
Wow.
Bloomingdale's and see what, look at all the shoes. And yeah.
When you look back on Milo's time at Camp I Am, how do you think it helped him become who he is today?
Well, it definitely helped him come out. I mean, I think he came out when he was 11. And
I mean, incomprehensible to me.
yeah, but he said he
you
knew
know?
way before then, that he wasn't like everybody else. And it
Yeah.
was funny to have him come out to me because I'm like, yeah, I didn't want to like take the wind out of his sails, but we kind of saw that coming, or something like it. um, yeah, I just felt like it gave him the language and the confidence to come out. And I think he is a, well-adjusted, comfortable gay man in the world. And I definitely attribute that to our support, but also the support of all the others, and just not feeling like it was something so out of the ordinary. You know, I hate to say
Mm-hmm.
normalized, because I just don't think that also is, it seems negative to me, but just like being celebrated, and it's just no big deal, actually. What do
Right.
what are we all so afraid of, really?
Mm-hmm. Tell me how the idea for the New York Times piece following up with the kids came about before we bring.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy, because I had heard that they were doing, the New York Times Magazine was doing a story, and they were interviewing some of the camp parents. And I didn't know anyone then, but I approached an editor. I was given a name, and I said, or maybe it was the writer, and I said, I'm one of the parents, and I've been documenting this for years. And they said, no, we already have this Dutch photographer, and we're going to show pictures of these Dutch kids. And I said, well, whatever. So they said no. And then I went to this photo festival, and Kathy Ryan was there, and this photographer, who's the editor of the New York Times Magazine, photo editor, and Maggie Stieber, who I was taking a course workshop with, who's also an exceptional photojournalist. And she said, I'm taking these to Kathy Ryan right now. And because I was showing those images in the workshop, and she went to Kathy Ryan, and Kathy Ryan contacted me. The Kathy Ryan, it's a big deal. So, and now I work with her more regularly, and it's amazing. But they were blown away to have the images of the kids that they were actually speaking to. It was the right fit, the obvious fit, and the images, were good enough. Yeah. And then we did the follow-up.
Well, it's amazing
with the participants of the follow-up 10 years later.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think it's amazing that you documented all of this, and I'm excited to bring out our next two guests. And here he is on the cover right there. Right? Amazing.
Yes, sir.
So let's meet Elias Matzo, who is now 20, attended Camp I Am for 4 years, starting at the age of 5. At camp, he could dress any way he liked without judgment, and today he lives in New York City, where he studies fashion at the Parsons School of Design. Elias is a self-proclaimed vintage fashion fanatic, and you should check out his Instagram to see his fabulous looks and creations. Please welcome mother and son, Karen and Elias Matzo. Hello there.
Hi.
Hi.
Thanks for having us.
Nice to see you. It's a little reunion.
Hi, Lindsay.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having us. Nice to meet you, Alan.
You as well, Elias. I read that you said you were 2 different Eliases back when you started to go to the camp. Can you elaborate?
Yeah. So I remember sort of compartmentalizing as a kid. And I didn't realize that's what I was doing at the time, I don't think, but sort of there was like the school version of myself that dressed one way and talked about certain things, or I guess behaved a certain way. I don't think I had that much, control over my femininity in that way, but I think I did try to alter myself a little bit at school, and then I would get home and immediately put on whatever outfit, whatever dress I was feeling was appropriate for the afternoon, because I was just waiting to do that all day, So
I love, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I may not have wanted to, put on a dress, but I definitely know I had to, sort of pretend to be someone else to try and avoid, the bullying. Absolutely.
Yeah, code switching is something we can all unfortunately relate to. Yeah.
Karen, how did you, Lindsay told me she went online to find Camp I Am. How did you find it? Was it the same experience for you?
We had a good friend in California, one of my husband's best friends, and he found the Children's Center in Washington and sent us the pamphlet because we were having trouble with some of our parents, our personal parents, my parents and Colin's parents. So we needed the pamphlet to set the stage. And then from there, we got involved with Camp
So
Bayonne.
explaining it to your husband's parents and your parents.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
We needed a little research support.
The
Yeah, I mean-
pamphlet. I got stacks of the pamphlet. I sent them to my whole family. That pamphlet was
Yeah, I'm with the
gold.
pamphlet. If you don't read the pamphlet and if you don't pass the test, we don't come for Thanksgiving.
Wow. So this pamphlet helped sort of articulate what the boys were experiencing, going through at the time.
Yeah, it was great.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
You know, what was it like, Karen, witnessing Elias in that environment, in the camp environment, when he first got there?
He was super happy. I mean, he was not he was a little shy at that time, or a little more reserved than he is now. And so I think at the beginning it was like some anxiety to wanting him to get comfortable and sort of, take advantage and make friends and be himself. And over time he was. We were pretty free at home, and we've sort of created an environment, which I'm sure Lindsay and many of the parents did, where anything kind of went, and that was great. And so I think part of the experience was also watching all the other families and my other son as well. That was exciting, that it was the norm for these 2 or 3 days, and that it was just free and wonderful. And I think all of the kids, gender fluid, everyone anywhere on the gender spectrum was just happy. So, yeah.
Elias, what do you remember? What stands out in your mind from your time?
I honestly, I wish I could remember so much more than I do. And recently I felt like that just in general about my childhood, and I don't know if it's COVID or whatever, but things just feel so far away, and I don't think I thought that it would feel so far away when I was that age. But anyway, I remember what I remember is mostly the visual, certain details of what the other campers were wearing and what I was wearing, and unpacking what I had packed. And yeah, and I remember feeling like the things that I was I guess that I cared about at camp really mattered in a way that they didn't at home. Like the picture that was on the cover in 2012, that's one of the moments I remember, is rushing to that show. And I remember not feeling, silly or contrived at all for really, feeling like it was New York Fashion Week and I was running late and I had to bring the garments to the show, or else, you know what I mean? And those are the moments that I remember. And I remember looking around me and noticing that everyone else cared too. And so, yeah.
I love that.
Me too. I like that. That's the thought bubble of your head. It's New York Fashion Week. You do look serious.
Yeah.
And I have a visual, and I just met you, that you probably had, the largest trunk of clothes with you.
Yes. Yeah. That was. Yeah.
Probably true.
And I remember bringing things and giving them to other campers too, because it's still today, one of my favorite things to do with people that come over or whatever is just dress up, because it's such an emotional and a revealing thing to do with people. So I remember being really excited to share the stuff that I brought with the other people. Be like, oh, that's a great look, but maybe you need a bracelet. You're things like that. I just remember sort of those fun moments, I guess. Yeah.
And Karen, for you, what stands out from the whole camp experience?
I felt it was so affirming, and I was just thinking as you were talking, Elias, the very first time we met, there was this great couple of men, gay men, and it was the first parents, and it was the first time that I remember they sat and both of them engaged you really intensely one-on-one. And I remember being so relieved I was like, oh God, yes, drink it in. And then one of the sessions, like he donned, like, Elias now owns 12 pairs of these shoes, but like John, his name, he was like, like 8-inch
Black
boots, like all the way up. And
leather.
you remember, right? And I
Yeah.
remember
I remember
thinking,
those. I do,
yes, yes. And like all those little things. And then I remember being in the airport on the way home one time, and this obnoxious airport jewelry seller lady said something really inappropriate to you, Elias, like because you were trying on the rings. And I remember thinking, he's so armed right now. Like, I just remember feeling like you are just golden. And I remember saying to you, she's not on our team. It's all good. Don't worry about it. Who cares? And we, like, it was so strengthening. It was like art. It was like getting armor for the rest of your life. You went back and you're prepared somehow.
That's a great way to phrase that, actually.
And I just love, hearing you say that as a mom, that you were, thinking about it, and he's armed, and, so many kids struggle without support. I was very blessed that my mother knew. My mother asked if I was gay. My dad did not know before he passed. Different generation. I was thinking about that with something, you said about your parents, it's a different generation, and that it takes time. I mean, my dad, somebody said if he's gay, he said he'd kick me out. My mother would have kicked him out. That would have never happened. So like the support you provide that your children is so incredible. Elias, I'm so impressed. I don't know if that's even the right word, but coming out in high school is not something I could have imagined. Can you talk about what the experience was like for you?
Yeah, I never came out, though.
Oh.
Basically, I, like, from a young age, Mom, you will remember many of these occasions. People start telling you, when you're as effeminate as I am, people start telling you you're gay very early on in life. So, not only do you realize very quickly, but you realize that, or I had the feeling that everyone already knew already, or had decided anyway. So I think I remember thinking like, I shouldn't have to, I guess, tell the people that know me, the people that I love already know, just because of context. And I think I felt it was safe to assume, I guess, which is a testament to the environment that you and Dad created in our house growing up, Mom. But I think I felt like everyone else, either it isn't their business or they're already speculating anyway. So I just, it never occurred to me to come out. Yeah. Which is a weird thing to say, but.
Yeah, no, I definitely understand it. I understand that the people tell you something, you start to believe it for sure. At a young age. Karen, Lindsay, and I sit on the board of Gay Sons and Mothers, and Gay Sons and Mothers have a unique bond for sure. How would you describe your bond with Elias?
I don't know. I love him. I don't know what else to say. He's fun. He's my soul. He's just beautiful. He makes me so happy. It's so not complicated. For me, I can't speak to you, Elias, but it's just not complicated. Like, I have always been in love with him. Both of my kids, and Elias reflects a little bit more of me than my heterosexual son in some ways. Some aspects of me that maybe my other son, Jonah, who is Elias's twin, doesn't necessarily reflect. Like, some of the, I don't know, Elias, maybe you can describe that more as needed, but it's easy. It's like a little love affair for your whole life.
True.
Well, I mean, Elias, you mentioned both your parents. Talk about it. I mean, how important has their support been, and how do you think it helped you become the man you are today?
I think, yeah, I mean, as I have more and more queer friends and we talk about sort of the ways in which we grow up and our parents and stuff, I have realized recently that my parents are almost unprecedentedly open-minded and reasonable, and I am incredibly lucky to be like one of the gay kids in the world that has never had to, question whether a part of me would be accepted or not at all. So it's almost something that I didn't think about until I started talking to other people who didn't have as fortunate of an experience as I did, which I'm experiencing that in New York. Never really when I was growing up, because small town token gay kid energy. So I thought that was, sort of the standard for a while, but it's so not. And I'm like just amazed every single day by how understanding and like Mom, like you said, it's just very uncomplicated, which is miraculous. And especially we were talking about this recently, especially Dad recently. My dad, Kala, has sort of started to go on this quest to like break down the traits of masculinity that he associates with like what it means to be a man. So now he was already sort of I mean, obviously I'm sure there was like internal conflict at the beginning. I wasn't around for that. I remember very little, but like now it's like just he's now not only becoming an understanding parent, but a very evolved man, I guess, too. So it makes me like, I guess just thankful and like amazed that this is the world we get to live in.
Yeah, and I think what you're saying about your dad is he's trying to just understand where it plays into how men have reacted to gay men, or toxic masculinity plays into how kind of we're judged.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah.
And
you're very, that is amazing and so lucky, and again bring tears, and I'm really thankful that you are here sharing this, because as beautiful as your relationship is and uncomplicated, other parents need to hear that, because a mother and son, no matter what spectrum of sexuality or anything, should be uncomplicated, and love should be the only thing that matters.
Ideally. I have to little shout out to Elias's brother too, who I think did a pretty good job as a twin, sort of.
I was going to ask, because I have very close high school friends. My friend Paul is gay, and he has twins. One is gay and one is not as well. And I was curious how your brother handled. Are you identical?
We are
fraternal.
No, we're fraternal, and it's like quite obvious from miles away. But yeah, he's always been great. I feel like definitely I like learned later that a lot of the times people's speculations of me in elementary school, middle school would get to him before they would get to me. Mm-hmm. So he sort of had to make the choice early on, what his role was going to be in that. And he was very, I wouldn't say like, I don't know, maybe not like protective, but not, I don't know. He has always been like very supportive of me, and I feel like I learn a lot from him. He learns a lot from me, and And yeah, we get along even though we are incredibly
So different.
different.
Mhm. Nothing wrong with differences, right? Well,
Yeah.
before I let you both go, Elias, June is Pride Month. New York City is the best place on earth to celebrate it. What at your age, I mean, I don't know if you think about it much, but what does Pride mean to you?
Pride means to me, I would say accepting yourself and all the things about yourself that maybe you resent, and trying to understand why you resent those parts of yourself. And then if you can come to some sort of baseline of self-love and confidence, looking for people in your community that maybe haven't found that yet, and trying to bring joy to them and empowerment to them, and thinking about sort of lifting up everyone, not just the fortunate upper middle class. What other categories, like circuit boys, like everyone in the community, whether they fit the toxic standards of beauty that also exist in the queer community as well. That's a big thing. So yeah, I think thinking about privilege and thinking about self-acceptance and love, that's what Pride means to me.
Thank you both so much for being here. I really, really appreciate it. And thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you for having us. It was nice to see you.
It's so good to see you guys.
Yeah.
Great to see you, Lindsay.
Bye, guys. Happy Pride.
Happy Pride. Thanks,
you
Alan.
too.
Pride.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Zachary Davis, now 22, grew up in a Mormon family in Utah. His faith, which everyone knew, considers homosexual behavior a transgression. Zach realized he was different in first grade and hid his gender fluidity until he was in ninth grade, when he befriended some non-Mormon theater kids who accepted him for who he is. He came out as gay at that time. Zach's mother had to go outside her faith to find support and educate herself, which led her and Zach to Camp I Am when he was 8 years old. Zach's parents, who have always supported him, oppose Mormon ideas about homosexuality and gender roles, and they volunteer at Pride parades. And in my opinion, there's nothing more you can ask for. Please welcome to the Locher Room, Zach and Locher Davis. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Lori.
What's up?
Thank you both so much for being here.
Yeah, of course. It's so great to meet you.
You as well. Lori, I heard you say that initially when Zach stole a neighbor's dress and put it on, and he took beads off the Christmas tree and accessorized them, you said it made you nervous. You said you didn't have any framework on how to deal with it. How did you and your husband come together to find that framework?
Yeah, we live in Utah. We were members of the dominant faith here that is very conservative. And I think for us, when we saw Zach, who was the third of 4 boys, doing some of these things, it was really clear that he was not like his brothers. And it was scary, like very, very scary. And I think just because it was outside the box and we weren't sure how to deal with it. So what really changed the game for my husband and I was a few things. One, we had a very affirming pediatrician who found us the information about the listserv that Lindsay talked about. That really saved us, and then it connected us to Camp I Am. That was the first thing that was really great. And the second was deciding to just embrace and go all in. And though that was hard, we could see the toll that us not doing it. Lindsay, I heard you say you didn't buy your son the shoes. We had a Christmas where Zach, his whole Christmas list was Barbies and, Kelly dolls and Mimi the pony or whatever. And we bought him a train set and a scooter. And that night we put him in the bathtub and we washed him, and the day was over and he said, "Mom, I do not think Santa read my list because I didn't get anything I wanted." And my husband and I literally went to bed that night. We cried our eyes out, and we woke up the next day and we bought him all the Barbies. We did it. But yeah, it was hard because that was not our community. Supporting Zach, easy. Going against our community, really challenging.
I bet. I am so impressed that you call a pediatrician for so many other things. I love that the pediatrician was well versed to be able to help. Medically, you call a pediatrician for things that are happening to your child, and this is not something I would have guessed a pediatrician might have the answer to. And it's beautiful that they did.
It's a miracle because our state, our religion really was, I would have thought conversion therapy, but she was from out of state. She was, far more liberal than our community. And I really think that like Zach's fate literally could have turned on a dime there. Had someone said, "Hey, I think you should try this conversion therapy," I might have been not had enough sense to go, "Yeah, that's a terrible idea." So I really feel lucky. You're right. It's a huge stroke of luck that happened for us.
Wow. Amazing. Zach, what's your earliest memory of dressing up and finding the joy in it?
Oh, that's a tough question because I honestly, like, all of my early memories are me like wearing dresses and like playing with Barbies, and it was just so normal. And then that's like kind of hard to like explain to people who like didn't grow up that way, but like for me it was just completely normal and there was like nothing out of the ordinary about it. Like I would be with my friends that like lived on our cul-de-sac, and I would be like dressed in like a full dress, and like they would be there too, all the little girls, and like we all just played, and it was just so like normal, which is so great now to like talk about. And I realize now, like growing up and being in my early 20s and stuff, like how out of the normal that was. But at the time it was just so like there was literally nothing out of the ordinary about it. And I'm so grateful for that, because when I look back on my childhood and my early memories and like finding joy from dressing up and stuff, I don't feel a lot of shame that a lot of other people feel when they felt like they were different than people around them.
That makes complete sense. I mean, listening to your mom actually, and us talking about the pediatrician and the fact that, conversion therapy might have been somebody's suggestion. How lucky do you feel that your parents?
So lucky.
Yeah.
I feel like so lucky. It's like hard for me to put it into words. Everyone I tell, and people always tell me like I hit the jackpot with my parents. Like my life would have been just a billion different times different, and I just got so lucky. I hit the lottery. Like I just got the best, most accepting, loving parents in the world, and it has like made my childhood and like my teenage years and like growing into an adulthood just like such a great experience. It has made me like such a good person, and I really like, there's not a day that I don't take it for granted, or that I do take it for granted, because I just feel so lucky that like I had that experience, especially like meeting other gay kids and other people. Like they just have such a different childhood and a different experience with their parents than me, and it really puts things into perspective for me just how lucky I am.
All right, I can't. Yeah, no, sorry, I'm at a loss.
Yeah.
Laura, you talk about, you grew up Mormon and what your faith taught you. How, and I listened to your video about it and how it challenged you. So where does it play today? Like how do you come to grips with that? And, and listening to Zach talk about, just loving him and what that did for him.
Yeah, in some ways, like, I'm gonna give my faith a huge credit for, you know, family is a cornerstone of that religion. And so I'm going to say that my religion taught me that I should love my family above all else. And that's what I did. Now, these days, I don't so much vibe with my religion because of its very constrictive roles, you know, because of they don't accept equality. And as long as that's going on, I can't necessarily, in good conscience, go with that. But that was a long time coming for me too. You know, that took a long time too.
I'm you know, I think about, you know, being gay and the difficulty of that. And I'm not necessarily a religious person, but like, I can imagine that as hard as it is for Zach and I with our sexuality, that's got to be a really, and for you and your husband to come to grips with that. It's like you're both going through different processes.
Yeah, for sure. I think, you know, like I always think this whenever I hear of, you know, people that have kids coming out who are quite religious. Supporting your kid, that's the easy part. That's a piece of cake. Coming to terms with your religion, deciding how you're going to deal with your religion, that is the hard part. That was the most challenging part. That was the part that still like leaves scars in our family. I mean, it's literally the hardest thing that we've ever had to do. Supporting Zach was the best thing I've ever gotten to do.
That's amazing. Did you use the pamphlets too?
Oh, for sure. Oh my gosh. I read those and I cried my eyes out. Like I was like, my kid's normal, you know?
Yeah.
Like I just literally like stop crying.
I would
when
love to
read
see it.
those.
If Lindsay, if you have something you can email,
I will show it to you. Yes.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I think I have a PDF of it.
Yeah.
I would love
That's
to.
what they send it to us. You know, they send us the little PDF and it was so great because it was very affirming as a parent, I think, because you were like, what is up with my kids? So it was very affirming for them to be like, your kid's just fine.
I wonder what it would look like to us today, like the language. It probably seems really.
Well, do you remember that they called it gender variant?
Yes.
Yes, gender variant.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So interesting. I interviewed a gentleman last week named Trey Pearson. I don't know if you know who he is, Zach. He is a gay singer who grew up very Christian. He was a Christian rocker, got married and had 2 children and then came out of the closet. But he really talked about, you know, his religion really almost, you know, crushed him. And you know, his family did not do what you and your husband did, Lori. And, you know, it took some time, but, you know, Zach, for you, you know, knowing, and growing up Mormon, you know, and knowing what their views were, how did that affect you, you know, growing up? Like,
Yeah, so I would say that was like the single, like growing up Mormon is like the single most important aspect of my identity. I think that like a lot of people would assume that like my identity is being gay, but I would say like more like effective than that is that like the single most identifying trait about me is that I grew up Mormon, because it was it's hard to like explain how much your life like revolves around the church when you're in it. And not only like until recently when I moved out of state for college and then like, you know, come back to Utah every once in a while, like, did I really understand just how predominant the church and its views were in my life? And so, you know, growing up, like, it was hard to hear everything about, like, there's this thing called like family proclamation to the world, but it basically is saying like man marries woman and it's like the utmost important thing. That is it, like man marrying woman, no room for anything else. And that was really hard to hear. And like, it was, you know, it was crushing. And there's like this book that they give to like the adolescents. It's called like For Strength of Youth. And it's, you know, there's a line in it that like, you know, forbids homosexuality and talks about like how horrible it is. And I remember like being young and just like reading that line over and over again and feeling like so horrible about myself and like like it was so tough and it was so hard, but I also like consider myself super lucky because like while that was really hard for me, I always knew in the back of my head like this isn't going to matter because I have my parents. Like no matter what happens, I have my parents. So it was kind of like even though all of this is like, you know, horrible to hear and like I was struggling with like what am I going to do when I grow up? Like am I going to marry a woman? Like in the back of my head, like I never worried about it too much because I knew that whatever happened, like I would have supportive parents that loved me no matter what route of life I took. And when I did decide to leave the church, like it was never a, oh my God, you're leaving. It was always like a, yes, like this is what is meant for you. You are going to leave and have this amazing life, these amazing experiences and these amazing people. And like, you never have to worry about like what some stupid little handbook says. So even though like I did struggle with it when I was younger, I did always know in the back of my mind, like it's going to be okay one day. Might not be okay right now, but when I grow up, it's going to be okay.
That's amazing. And amazing, Lori, on you and your husband's part for, you know, that he knew deep down. I mean, that's what every parent should make their child feel like. No matter what, I mean, we might struggle, Zach, you and I, as we grow up, but if you know that your parents have your back when it, you know, when you get later in life, then things will iron themselves out. And Lori, you were one of the first, right, families at Camp I Am?
Yeah, the first year that they had the support group that Lindsay talked about, but the first year there was 4 families that showed up, and we kind of joined that support group. So I was one of those first 4, and it was life changing.
What stands out in your mind from, you know, just seeing Zach in that environment, seeing the other kids?
You know, you just wanted, at least I did, I just wanted Zach to meet somebody that was like him. And so those other little boys at the time that had their American Girl dolls, Zach had quite a collection. I'm just going to say it. He had quite a collection.
Was yours the best?
Yeah, easily. Easily.
Yeah.
Those were all, he had so many, but just seeing him and like watching other little boys play with American Girl dolls and watching Zach play with them too. And just, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. It was life-changing.
I mean, for Lindsay, for you and Lori, it must have been a relief, really, when you, just seeing other people just like them, other boys, other girls, just being who they are, and probably seeing a huge smile on Zach's face and Milo's face.
I think Milo was really shy, but the parents, I mean, I feel like everyone who walked, it was a hotel room, and I think I have a picture, I can picture this, now I want to go dig back, of Milo holding his American Girl doll, but he was very shy and serious. I think for the first 2 years, he was pretty uncomfortable, but I think he really did want to go back. But I do remember parents walking in and just sobbing, just like, oh my gosh, here they are, like our people.
Wow.
20 years ago, you just never even heard of it. Like you felt like you were on an island.
Yes.
With your child.
Yes.
Yeah, I said it earlier to Lindsay, I came out in the 80s. I mean, I didn't have words for it because there was no internet. There was nobody on TV like me that I could, it astounds me today to watch and makes me so happy to see, like the TV show Glee, when it came on, I watched it from beginning to end because I just felt it was this representation that is going to change people's lives, kids' lives. Like if I had that growing up, it would have been a game changer. Zach, what's your, I know, do you have memories of the camp?
Yeah, I have tons of memories of the camp. Mostly like just how fun it was getting to like wear girl clothes, like out and about. And like before we went, like we got to, like me and my mom went to Justice, which like, I don't know if you guys know what that is, but it's like a girl store. But I love that. Like it was so fun. And we got to go get some like nice clothes. And I remember like getting to take them to DC and wear them out. And it was like so fun for me because like, even though like I was like, you know, pretty much myself at home, like I never wore more feminine clothes. That's not true. I wear like Hello Kitty stuff, but not like dresses. And then like at camp, I just remember like, it was just so fun. Like no one really, like you just got to hang out with a bunch of people like you. And we like all had dolls and like, we all had like fashion shows with dresses and boas and jewelry. And it was just so like, it was just so normal and there wasn't anything taboo or weird about it. And like, I just loved it. Like I loved going to camp. There's some of my like, best memories from my childhood. And I like feel so lucky I have those memories of my childhood and like that camp experience.
That's incredible. Lori, can you tell me about Mama Dragons?
Yes. So after I, you know, kind of like walked the path of my lovely listserv people, I wanted to meet another Mormon mom who had a gay son. And so that led me to Mama Dragons. Now, when Mama Dragons was really small and it was just the beginning, it was just Mormon moms of gay kids. But now Mama Dragons has grown really huge. It's a Facebook, and I checked the other day and we have over 8,000 members, and it's moms of LGBTQ kids all over the place. And it's a good place to find support. One thing I know to be true about support groups is that they make you brave. And so as other parents came together in Camp I Am, and as other moms come together in Mama Dragons, it helps them be brave, and brave moms, brave parents of all kinds support their kids in a better way. So I'm a firm believer of good support groups.
I love that. Love that. You know, I had mentioned earlier, Lindsay and I sit on the board of Gay Sons and Mothers, and you did the video for talk about, you know, the special bond between you two.
Yeah, Zach is without a doubt my best friend. Anything happens, I always want to call Zach. And he lives 3,000 miles away from me. He lives in Hawaii. But
oh, you lucky stiff.
Poor boy.
Where in Hawaii?
I'm on Oahu on the east side.
I honeymooned there. That was the first time I had ever been there. So.
Oh, nice. On Oahu?
Kauai and Oahu, yes.
Okay, nice. I'm going to Kauai in September. But yeah, I'm on Oahu. I love it. It is so
Lori,
hard being so hard. Yeah.
It's like, but I mean, even the 3,000 miles that separates us, like we talk every single day. We FaceTime, we call each other. Anything that happens, he is like my first call. He's my bestie. Like for sure, he's my bestie. And I only have boys, so I do want to say, you know, there's something special between a mom and her gay son. There is really something special.
I spoke to mine every day as well, so I miss that opportunity. I miss that, you know, she couldn't have been here for me to say thank you, you know, because like Zach, I was quite lucky, you know. I said it earlier, my dad didn't know and said he would have kicked me out, and like I said, she would have kicked him out. But she, you know, she was not an educated woman. So, you know, she was a Holocaust survivor. So not, you know, so I was blessed in that way that, you know, she understood. And yeah, crazy. Zach, I asked Elias this. It's Pride Month. I don't know what Pride is like in Hawaii, but do you think about Pride? What does Pride mean to you?
Yeah, I heard you ask Elias this, and I was like, oh shoot, what am I going to answer? But to me, Pride honestly is about celebrating Pride how you want. If you want to go to Pride parades and Pride festivals, then that is Pride to you, and you should be able to do that. And if you want to spend time with your family and your friends and celebrate Pride in that way, then that is what Pride means to you. Pride to me is all about loving yourself and accepting yourself exactly who you are, not necessarily what, like, you know, everyone else wants you to be, how they want you to celebrate Pride, how they want you to do this or that. Like, it just, Pride to me just means like being yourself and celebrating yourself however you want, without anyone trying to tell you that this is a certain way you should act, this is a certain way you should behave. Like, to me, Pride is just a month where like we get to celebrate our differences, but not because they make us different, but because like they are what make us us. And I'm like so happy it's Pride Month. Honestly, Hawaii doesn't do much for Pride Month. Randomly, they celebrate Pride in October. That's like when the Pride Festival and parade and stuff is. But yeah, I'm still excited it's Pride Month. Like I wish I could be home in Utah to go to Pride with my parents.
Yeah,
but
I'm going
that's
to give a
okay.
shout out to Noah's dad, who just built a float for the Pride Parade. He is a member of the Dragon Dads, which is kind
She
of
meant
like the
Zach.
Mama
She
Dragons.
called me Noah,
Yep.
my brother.
Oh, it's because Noah was texting
Like,
me.
who's
Oh,
Noah?
shoot. Oh,
Yeah, Noah's my brother.
Other
is
child,
so funny.
child.
Yep, it
Oops,
happens.
kidding.
My
It never
sister
ends.
calls me her son's names. Don't worry, I've heard those things
No,
before.
it does never end. My kids are always
never
teasing me about
ends.
it. To Zach's dad, who built a float for Pride Parade this weekend. Yay.
Right.
Well,
Yes,
Zach, you
go Brett.
definitely need to come
Dad.
and see what Pride is like in New York City sometime.
Yeah, it's such a long flight for me. So
From Hawaii it is. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Lindsay, how talking about gay sons and mothers, how did you become involved?
Oh my gosh. How did I get involved? I honestly like have to think about this a second because I only got involved recently, but I can't remember.
I actually think I kind of know the answer to this because
Do
Zach
you? Is
did.
it because I saw
It's because Zach did your thing and Rick had said, I saw Zach in, and then he was like, I would really like to talk to Lindsay.
Yeah. Thank you, Lori.
Yes.
I love it.
Okay.
Well, Lori, your video is fantastic.
It is.
And truly, all of you, thank you for sharing, your honesty and sharing your story. I posted a video for Pride yesterday, and I really do say it. Our stories, our journeys are, what makes us unique, and we should all celebrate those journeys and those stories. And, hopefully, Lori and Lindsay, you went online to find information to help Milo and Zach. And hopefully someday some parent might see this conversation and you have all helped them. So that's, as somebody who grew up where there was not something that I could look at and find people like myself, I am grateful to all of you for being here today.
Awesome.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for hosting
Yeah,
us.
thanks for having us.
You're so welcome. Happy Pride.
Thank you.
Happy Pride.
Same to
Thank
you.
you.
Good
Happy
to
Pride.
see you both.
Good to see you
I wish
guys.
Yeah,
I
good to
was
see
in
you too.
Hawaii.
Yeah, me
Yeah,
too.
it's nice.
We
Nice.
may come next April for our 10th wedding anniversary.
Oh, you guys should. You should.
Nice.
We wanted to
did
do every
get to
5
visit.
years. Isn't it
That's
spectacular?
right. Lindsay, you got to go there.
I got to go. The Times sent me to photograph Zach. Which was
is that
really...
where you photographed
Yes.
him?
All here.
Oh, yes. I
Nice.
cannot wait to come back. We were just talking about it. So if someone
I
comes
love
and
it.
knocking at your door, it does.
Be well, everybody. Thank you again. I
Okay,
can't
thank
thank you
you.
enough.
Thanks, Alan. Bye,
Bye.
you
Bye.
two.
Bye, Lindsay. Thanks so much, really.
Thanks, Alan. That was great.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in today. Happy Pride to all of you. Thank you to Lindsay Morris, Elias and Karen Matzo, and Zach and Laurie Davis for stopping by and sharing their stories with all of us today. Please join me next Thursday for a special Instagram Live on Thursday, June 9th at 7 p.m. Eastern, when Emmy nominee Jordi Villasuso joins me live to discuss his Emmy nomination. Please check out my new website, thelocherroom.com. And if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please subscribe and turn on notifications for reminders of all upcoming shows. Have a great weekend, everybody, and I will see you next week. And most importantly, please stay safe.